You are watching the Notre Dame recruiting update. Thank you for joining us, as always, every Thursday. Mike Singer and Trey Yanity with you. Excited to be back, Mike, for another week of Notre Dame recruiting as we kind of begin to wind it down to an extent here. The class is really shaping up. It's still, as we've talked about each and every week, some skill guys to be added. But as we get into the show tonight, guys, please hit that like button for me if you have not done so already, and subscribe to our channel. To get in the comments section today, you're going to need to be a subscriber. So please make sure to do so you can get active with us because we want to know your thoughts as well. We're going to talk about a few different subjects today, really kind of recap the class and look at it as a whole. And we want your guys' thoughts on this 2023 class as well. To get it started, Mike, as we wind down here the month of October, happy Halloween, man. How you doing? And what are your thoughts on the latest in Notre Dame recruiting?
Oh man, it's busy. It's a very busy time. My wife will be out of town for Halloween. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I was thinking of having a Taco Bell fiesta at my house, and I think my cats will be able to join me. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't really have any friends. I talked to Trey Yanity and Tim Hyde and Mike Goolsby, and that's and Tyler Horgood. That's the gist. But yeah, a lot to talk about in today's show. We're going to dive into some analysis and some opinion of Notre Dame's recruits, and I think it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You got friends, Mike. We got 14, now 21 of them here with us as well. So we thank you guys for joining the show. And to get the show started, I want to talk about speed. Mike, I don't know if you're a fan of the movie Talladega Nights, but like Ricky Bobby, I think I want to go fast. This Notre Dame recruiting class wants to go fast. A lot of speed here. So we kind of take a look. Have you seen a class like this in terms of speed?
Well, I know Notre Dame fans agree with the term if you're not first, you're last, because it's really national championship or bust these days. So 4-3 is obviously not cutting it. I think Notre Dame is basically eliminated from the college playoff. I think, Trey. Yeah, in all seriousness, did write an article. Yeah, there it is, on point. Does Notre Dame have the fastest class in the country? And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the metrics now. Now, this is from the UC report. It's back up a little bit. It has the miles per hour for Notre Dame. I don't know how they get this. I don't know what software they're using to get this, but Dylan Edwards being the fastest player in the class is not a surprise. I mean, that's the name of his game, as he is an absolute speedster. 22 miles an hour top speed. That's crazy. I mean, I'm from Florida, and I feel like Dylan Edwards is is running faster than most folks drive down where I'm from in the Sunshine State. Peyton Bowen's another verified speedster. He's right there. He's 21.98 miles per hour. Jeremiah Love's, I mean, for Love and James to be running that fast at their size, I mean, they're both close to 200 pounds. Braylon James, his game is he's this big-bodied receiver. You want to stretch the field with him. But, yeah, but to be that fast and that big, he's a freak show of an athlete. I think he's a little raw coming in, but just in terms of coaching him up, getting him acclimated to college football, I mean, I think of Notre Dame's 3 current receiver commits, he has I think the other 2 have the more potential to play early, like as true freshmen. But I think Braylon James has the best overall potential to be a difference maker at Notre Dame. Now, if you would have asked me in that 2021 recruiting class, the same kind of thing with that 3-man group of Deion Colsey, Lorenzo Styles, and Jaden Thomas, I would have told you that Jaden Thomas is the most likely to not succeed at receiver because Colsey and Styles are just so good. And here you are, Jaden Thomas is, basically a starting Notre Dame receiver, and Styles has struggled recently, and Colsey's not even getting on the field. So we'll see. But I mean, as good as that receiver class was for Notre Dame, I mean, this one is even better. And in terms of the speed of this Notre Dame class, I mean, Marcus Freeman in this recruiting staff, they are very aware of their holes. And while it seemed like in the Brian Kelly era, they just kind of took Notre Dame guys, like guys that Notre Dame are expected to land. We're seeing a lot more with Marcus Freeman being much more aggressive, going after guys that maybe Notre Dame doesn't traditionally land. And you're seeing that those results just on this miles per hour metric that the UC report had. I mean, Notre Dame is not landing these 4 players. Maybe Edwards. Maybe they could have landed Edwards in a normal cycle. He was a pretty easy flip from Kansas State, but Bowen, Love, and James, definitely not.
Man, speed kills. And this wide receiver class really is unique. Look at these guys, almost illegal in a school zone, all of them here. And guys, you're going to want to go check out this article as well at blueandgold.com. Be sure to join us on the website end as well. But, such an interesting metric and a relatable one as well with the miles per hour there. Is this comparable to anybody currently on the roster or, somebody that's been around the program in the past?
Yeah, I mean, on the Styles is fast. Chris Tyree is a speedster, but I feel like with those 2 guys, you haven't seen them make big plays with their feet. Styles early in the year, Ohio State, but otherwise, like Chris Tyree in his career, I can only think he's hasn't really been able to be that game breaker with that speed. So I think that'll kind of be a next step evolution of this Notre Dame offense is, all right, you've got all this speed, but can you guys break one? Like, can you guys get some easy 2-play 80-yard touchdown drives? Like, that would be very nice. Like, that's taking some pressure off of, your quarterback. Maybe putting more pressure on the defense because they can't get a rest. But yeah, for sure. So the speed's been killing. I mean, just thinking in recent, Kyron Williams. He could take the top off of defenses with how he would run the football. But yeah, otherwise I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah. It's a different kind of brand here. And Notre Dame, obviously one of the more traditional brands in college football, but the modern offense is evolving. Great to see Notre Dame get these kind of guys in here to help them evolve the offense as well. This class as a whole, though, not just the speed, it's impressive for a lot of different reasons. Dylan Edwards, a guy you mentioned, I know at the top of your list in this class, but talk about some of these other guys. Who's impressed you the most as far as the commitments go so far in this class? And, who are you excited to see first at Notre Dame?
Yeah. So when talking about this, like who's impressed me the most, it would be easy to just go with like Peyton Bowen because he's a 5-star and he's performing at a 5-star level. So I wanted to go the route of like impressed. These players have exceeded expectations even. So I've got 3. Ben Minnick coming into the summer even was not really, he was on Notre Dame's radar, but more of like camp and let's see you in person and decide on an offer kind of guy. And then all of the sudden, he's this 4-star prospect he's really been outstanding at the high school level. His team just wrapped up a perfect regular season record. And just this past week, here are his stats: 2 tackles, a sack, an interception, 34 rushing yards, 5 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. So he is getting it done. I mean, look, his team is one of the better teams in the country. It's probably a top 50 program nationally. So at the safety position, you're not making a ton of tackles if you're Ben Minnick. But he's got 28. Again, safeties against teams dominating aren't going to make that many, but he's got a couple sacks. He's got 3 picks, which one has been returned for touchdowns. He's got 3 touchdown receptions. He's running the ball a little bit. I'm sure it's on jet sweeps, but he's a guy who I think has exceeded expectations. Notre Dame wants 3 safeties in this class. They have 3 committed. Obviously, with Minnick in this first play, this is from junior film. You're just kind of showing he's a speedy guy. He ran really well at Notre Dame's camp in June, but got him committed. Adon Schuler, who picked up an Ohio State offer recently. Irish are battling to keep him. And Peyton Bowen, who, folks know that everyone's coming after him. So Irish are also making sure that he stays solid. It's a really good safety class. Minnick, people probably think he's the 3rd best safety. And maybe that's true, but I think that speaks more to just how impressive this safety class is more than, Minnick's more of just a body or a number. Yeah, that's not the case. This guy can play some ball. Next up, I would say is Jaden Greathouse, and I already had high expectations for him. But he is just continued to be such a dominant and consistent performer at the high school level. His high school stats this season: 32 receptions, and this is through 8 games, 32 receptions for 616 yards. So clearly, when he catches the football, good things happen. 6 touchdowns. So 6 receiving touchdowns on 32 receptions. That's a pretty good clip. And also has 2 punt return score. So he's more of your traditional, I don't want to say possession receiver, because I think that kind of brings more of a negative than anything, but he is an outstanding route runner. He catches the ball very cleanly, has been, again, very highly productive, very consistent, very well coached at Austin, Texas Westlake. He's lost 1 game in his high school career, and they're going on 4 state titles. So, I mean, again, one of the best programs nationally, but he's not slow he's not anything close to slow. He can take a top off of a defense. He can use, I hate the cliche of, well, it's not a 50-50 ball with him. It's more of an 80-20 ball. I hate that cliche, but I mean, with him, you want to get the ball up to him. So Jane Greathouse has been fantastic. And then Owen Wafel, probably the least talked about player committed to Notre Dame, but Owen Wafel, defensive lineman. I can't remember what state he's from. He's from New Jersey? Huntschool, Princeton, New Jersey. Yeah. Owen Wafel's been fantastic. I mean, for him, I wouldn't say he's an undersized defensive lineman, but he's only listed at 6'2". Listen to these stats through 7 games: 38 tackles, 22 of them for loss, 22 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 7 quarterback hurries. I mean, the guy is just a menace. Owen Wafel. We watch him on film. He's also playing some fullback. So, I mean, he's going both ways. And dude's been dominant. I mean, he had a game the other day with 7 TFLs. Owen Wafel is, I think, impressed a lot of folks, and definitely including me. Commitment kind of just came out of the blue. Wasn't a high fanfare recruitment, but someone who Notre Dame offered on, I think, that St. Patrick's Day for a pot of gold, and offered him, hosted him, got him committed. And again, not a ton of fanfare, but I do think the Irish faithful should be pretty excited about this one. So, what was that, a 5, 6, 7-minute rant? There you go.
Filling up all our time here today, Mike. No, I love it. And these defensive linemen in general, I don't think always get the buzz and the hype that they deserve, especially in the recruiting process here. But a player to get excited about, and maybe add another F to his last name, and he would have quite the NIL deal with a certain breakfast diner if they were willing to do so. I see David Sullivan a little bit worried about a guy you mentioned, Peyton Bowen, in the comments. Guys, let us know your worries, your thoughts, everything you want to know about Notre Dame recruiting in that comment section. You got to be a subscriber to do so. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. But get your questions in as well. We're going to take your questions near the end of the show as we kind of continue to move along here, talking about this 2023 class as a whole. Who's your favorite 3 recruits? We talked about the guys maybe you were most impressed by, the guys that have come along the furthest, but who strikes you first, the top 3 in this class?
All right. So folks who've been reading my work for the past couple of years and watching our YouTube know that Joe Alt was my guy in the 2021 recruiting class. I still am the president of the Joe Alt fan club, and he's only one of the best offensive tackles in the country. He's a lot better than I thought he would be, even, and especially this soon. So I always get asked, like, "Oh, Mike, who's your Joe Alt for this class?" Last year, Steve Angeli. I'm a big Steve Angeli fan. So I've got 3 players right now leading the way for this year's. Now, when I was talking about Notre Dame commits that I was most impressed with, of course, I'm looking at my notes over here. Greathouse was supposed to be in this topic, and I meant to mention Dylan Edwards instead of Greathouse, but that's okay. Dylan Edwards has been absolutely dominant this season, so I flipped those. Okay, favorite 3 recruits: Greathouse. I love players like Jay Greathouse. Technically sound, strong, tough. I'm a sucker for production. He gets it done at receiver. He gets it done in the punt return game. He's an early enrollee. He is the safest recruit that I've ever seen. I mean, there is no bust potential with him. He is going to play at a high level at Notre Dame. There's just zero doubt about it in my mind. Jaden Greathouse, think the world of him as a football player. Think he could be a day one contributor. So he is a big contender for the. At the end of each recruiting cycle, I do a superlatives article. MVP, most improved. Boomer bust, whatever. So now there's a new award called the Joe Alt Award. So Greathouse is a contender for it. Jeremiah Love, I got to see him in September, and we've talked about him so much. The running back commits for the Irish from St. Louis Christian Brothers. I mean, he's such a special athlete. He is someone who Notre Dame fans have to be so excited about. I think he's a 5-star type talent. I mean, he is so good, and you get the ball in his hands out in space, put him at the slot, get him in the return game, whatever. You're a better football team when Jeremiah Love has the ball. Want to see more of him running downhill, between the tackles. I think a lot of his team uses him out wide and just uses that speed. You beat out Texas A&M, Michigan, and Alabama. Usually you have a pretty good football play in your hand. So Jeremiah Love is definitely in the running for this. But typically this little Joe Alt Award goes towards someone who is not super highly recruited or is one who, folks are very excited about. Love and Greathouse, I would say, fit that mold. And you see on this run here, I mean, Jeremiah Love is an outstanding talent. But right now, who I think is the leader for this is Preston Zinter. It's one of Notre Dame's lowest ranked commits. His offer list, he definitely had some good ones. Georgia was on there, I believe LSU, but a lot of people thought that those schools cooled on him. He wasn't a take at those schools. But whatever, because Notre Dame's getting a very good player. I think he's a 4-star, top 200 type player. Folks at Notre Dame who I talk to absolutely love Preston Zinter, think that he's going to be a big-time contributor at Notre Dame. Inside linebacker. He's athletic. He's got great bloodlines. His brother, Zach, is an offensive lineman at Michigan. Plays tight end. Highly productive, too, this season. Through 7 games, 59 tackles through 7 games, which is impressive. 4 TFLs, a couple passes broken up, forced a fumble recovery, interception, and also has 12 receptions for 180 yards and a lot of blowouts too. Central Catholic's a very good team. So he's ranked a 3-star. Could not disagree more with this one. I think Notre Dame has a very good player. He's enrolling early, and I think Notre Dame might use him pretty early on in his career. I'm very bullish on his talents. There's another 5-6 minutes for you, Trey. There you go.
I love it. It's like a good Family Guy cutaway. And, I'm seeing some great comments in our comments section here as well. I see Michael Pendergrast. Thank you for being here, Michael. And thank you for being here, Mike T. Singer. Everybody wants to be like Mike. Well, how about Mike Brown? You can know exactly what it is like to be Mike Brown on a game day at Notre Dame. The Leprechaun's Game Day at Notre Dame is an officially licensed children's book that describes the beautiful pageantry of a football Saturday at Notre Dame. You can follow the Leprechaun on an adventure from Step-Off into the tunnel and onto Notre Dame's field as he leads the team to an Irish win. This book is filled with delightful illustrations that bring the magic of Notre Dame's campus to life for young readers, and this charming read-aloud picture book is a celebration of true fighting Irish spirit and the perfect gift for Notre Dame alumni, families, fans of all things Irish. Guys, if you want to get your hands on this book, then it's easy. All you got to do is go to www.lepgameday.com. That's LEP Game Day, and enter the code BG22. That's BG22 to get your author signed copy today. Again, guys, that's lepgameday.com. BG22. You can get a personally signed copy from Mike Brown, a former Leprechaun, the author of this great picture book here. Excited to kind of see what the rest of this season looks like for Notre Dame here, Mike, and excited to see how the rest of this class shakes out. I know you got some
Stop. Trey, stop. Slow clap for that transition into the ad read. That is darn good work.
Thank you.
My guy Trey Yanity. He downplayed it. He said he didn't have something special this week, but that was fantastic. Trey,
I appreciate it.
You may continue, my friend.
I was up until 3:00 in the morning last night, Mike, trying to figure one out. So I'm glad that one hit for you there. But I know you got some travels ahead here in your future. Where are you going on the road this week?
Yeah, so it's typically in like July, early August is when I'll like map out exactly where I want to go for the fall because it's easy. But in the playoff, when the playoff time hits in November, it's tough because you don't want to book the travel to go across the country and then that team gets knocked out, in the first round, and then you're a little SOL there. So it was Trey, come on. I mean, Wicked Bronco Productions sees talent. He knows talent.
Can hook you up.
Yeah, so it's a lot more local trips. So for me, of course, I'm based out of Atlanta because when you cover Notre Dame recruiting, you want to be able to go nationally. You want to be able to go anywhere because that's just how Notre Dame recruits. So it's really not a better airport to fly out of for that than the Atlanta airport, as much as it pains me to get in and out of at times. But so I'm going to Athens, Georgia on Friday, going to see Khalil Barnes, who is a recently offered athlete target for the Irish. Listed as a corner, but Notre Dame's recruiting as a wide receiver. Recent Wake Forest decommitment. I believe he backed off that pledge about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Clemson offered him in late September, which is probably a big reason why he backed off of his Demon Deeks commitment. So I think this is kind of I know Wake Forest is still in the mix for him, but I think this is a 3-team battle between Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. And my mantra is follow the visits, and I would say that it works in this case because he's got you see official scheduled with Notre Dame for next weekend, Oklahoma a couple weekends after that, and then Clemson at the end. So, he coming in for the Clemson game, big visit. What's just really interesting is that Notre Dame has one receiver spot left, and you've got 2 players with Barnes and Tayshawn Lyons on the board. So, how does Notre Dame kind of handle that situation? It remains to be seen. But the good thing here, at least in my opinion, is that Barnes isn't looking to rush to make a decision here. So it's not like if Lyons is the guy they've been after for a long time in recruiting terms, at least it's been a couple months, a lot longer than they've been after Barnes. They just offered about a week and a half ago. So it's not going to be at least I don't think it'll be a situation where Barnes wants to commit after the Clemson game. Then if you're Notre Dame, it's like, all right, well, what do we do about Tayshawn Lyons? He's going to take his recruitment very close to National Signing Day. Lions, you would expect to be sometime in November where he's going to make a final decision, but he might be closer to signing day. So Notre Dame has time to kind of figure this thing out. The good thing is they have 3 really good receivers committed. We also like Notre Dame to land Brandon Hillman from Virginia. He could play some receivers. So Notre Dame has an influx of talent who can catch the football. I would also throw in there Dylan Edwards and Jeremiah Love, who could play some slots. So ton of good talent coming in who can catch the football.
If you're Notre Dame right now and you have to make that decision between Lyons and Barnes, what do you do here? Is Lyons the shoe-in since he's been the longer recruited guy?
Well, yeah, if they both call me and commit, at first I'm thinking the good Lord baby Jesus for that, because that's a great problem to have. But if it were me, this is just one man's opinion. If Barnes wanted to, let's say someday he wants to come in, it's just the best official visit ever after the Clemson game. I'm calling Lyons and saying, bro, you got to pop right now. Or we can't take you. And if not, you take Barnes. And if Lyons says, okay, he's in, then, I don't know if you take Barnes as an athlete or just not. I don't know. I'm glad I don't get paid to make those types of tough decisions. I would like the money that they get paid to make those decisions, but yeah, they're still tough nonetheless.
Yeah, no doubt. Good to have a talent problem like that, if that is the case, and they really have these 2 guys interested. When it comes down to it, Want to get to some questions, and guys, I want you to continue to get your questions in the comment section for us. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. Not a whole lot today, so continue to get those in for us there. We have one from our Blue and Gold message board as well, though. This one from Irish NIN88 wants to know updated expectation of the number of kids that they're going to sign.
So we're just going to talk this one out, okay? So Chris, if you can pop up the commit list. So Notre Dame has 23 players committed. And thank you, sir. So we got Hillman that they want to take. So that would be 24. Another receiver, which would be 25. You would hope they're going to take a quarterback, which would be 26. And then, am I missing anything? An offensive lineman, Chris Tarek, who's the player they're targeting for that. Is that 27? So that's what, 4? Yeah,
no,
so
I'm terrible at that, Mike. I believe, though. Yeah.
Hillman, Tarek, a receiver, whether that's like Lyons or Barnes, and a quarterback, I think. So that's 27 right there. Now, do they take a Viper? Keon, they haven't. They were at 4 defensive line commits, and then they lost Keon Keeley, used the true Viper in the class, but haven't really gone after anyone, to my knowledge, to replace him. So they go the high school route. Well, that would make 28. So that it just kind of depends if they want to just go straight to the portal or not, or maybe both. So right now, my expected number of kids assigned, which I'd been saying for a while, is going to be right around 25, but things change obviously, and that number usually increases more than it decreases. But I've definitely seen cover Notre Dame, especially the 2020 recruiting class, where Notre Dame was expected to take a full boat, but then only took it was close to like 20 players. Yeah, I do believe it'll be right around 27, 28.
I know it's a touchy subject. Before we move on, I see we have one question starred there in the comments. Maybe not touchy, a nervous subject still. Any progress on quarterback since the last time we spoke?
No.
Fair enough. Let's move on. I ask because I know that is truly the final piece, one of the final pieces of this class, and the one that I think Notre Dame fans might be the most nervous about. But I know David Solomon a little bit nervous as well about Peyton Bowen being recruited hard by Alabama, and he's got some comments about Alabama in general. They get what they want, they do. But
David seems like can we invite him to the show, because he's telling me all the things he's hearing. So I mean, he seems like an insider.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, David, why don't you just you join the show, man? I mean, you tell me what's going on. I don't know why I'm doing the show. Peyton Bowen watch, really not anything has changed since he started taking these visits. It's continued to feel good on the Notre Dame side of things, but then you follow the visits and he is taking another trip to OU soon, another A&M. He visited Oregon this past weekend. Does he go to Michigan? If he flips to Michigan, I think that would be the absolute worst possible scenario for the Notre Dame faithful. I don't see that happening. I don't see Oregon. I think Notre Dame's biggest threat here is Oklahoma. But this is until Peyton comes out and says, I'm locked in with Notre Dame, I think you have to be worried. Or, of course, he signs on the dotted line with the Fighting Irish. So it's looking good from a Notre Dame perspective, just in terms of sources I'm talking to. But, from the, when you read national reports or what folks on the OU or A&M side of things have to say, they seem very confident, but so do Notre Dame sources. So that's basically the update.
Yeah. It would be cool, like David Knight is saying, to get some of our commenters or viewers in onto the show. But like Notre Dame's recruiting class, there's a limited number of spots on our StreamYard roster here. So we can't do that. But you guys can join us in the comment section. And we thank you guys for doing that again this week as you do. So be sure to join us again next Thursday as we close it out here today, Mike. It's kind of your final thoughts on the month of October as we end the spooky season here.
Oh, man. November should be a lot of fun. That Clemson weekend will be massive. I mean, tons of Notre Dame commits, targets, should be a few official visitors, but after the Clemson game, Notre Dame only has one more home game, which is Boston College, November 19th. You could see if Notre Dame, offers a new 23 player or if they're able to get Chris Tarrick on campus for an official. For example, you could see some quality official visitors or big time visitors for Boston College, but really the Clemson game is going to be big. And then at the end of the season, right after that Southern Cal game, I'm sure Notre Dame will stay on the West Coast and do some in-home visits, and we're getting close to National Signing Day. It's right around a month and a half to go, or a little bit more than a month and a half. But yeah, it's an important stretch run here for Notre Dame. And can we find who they're going to get at quarterback? That's absolutely the biggest storyline left.
No doubt about it. Stay tuned for that, guys. Along with everything else going on here in this world of Notre Dame recruiting, signing day is coming up. Crazy to think that, just over a month away at this point. But we're going to have all the coverage for you guys here on our YouTube page, as well as blueandgold.com. Go check us out over there. Become a member and get in the loop of everything going on. Check out that speed article. Really cool deal there. Looking at some of those numbers on some of these guys that Notre Dame is trying to bring into the class here. But for Mike Singer, my name is Trey Yanity. Until next week, safe travels, Mike. Please enjoy your trip on the road, and we'll see you guys next Thursday.